emergency fund and financial health to supersize your business. Sharon, Horne-Ellstrom here. Let's talk about it today. We need to talk about emergency funds and how you set them up, how you use them, and that you absolutely positively have to have one. I almost want to say, holy cow, Batman, how can you not have an emergency fund? When I talk to people and they say, no, we're just barely scraping by, we're just getting started, and we're just, scraping the ground to find whatever we can for income and customers and financial help in order to survive, much less have an emergency fund. I will tell you the difference between, and I don't have a statistic on it, the percentage of businesses that fail because they don't have the financial resources, including an emergency fund, insurance, and all of the things that they need in place is astronomical. There's a reason there's a 95% business failure rate in the first 5 to 10 years. It's insane. If you knew that you had a 95% chance of failing at something, would you do it? No, which is part of why most people don't start and grow and build and supersize their own business. And one of the secrets that I don't think it should be a secret is that you need to have a cushion and you need to have an emergency fund, especially when you're doing something huge like building a business, because it's not a small endeavor. Look at how much small things that happen in our lives, because life is very unpredictable, right? We don't know when an emergency is going to happen. We don't know when an illness is going to happen. We don't know when there's going to be a death in the family or an accident or an illness in the family. We don't know when there's going to be a physical accident where someone gets hurt. And so we have to be prepared for that, and in our personal lives, but especially in our businesses, because usually in our businesses, it's more than just us. There's other people counting on us. Our customers are counting on us to continue to deliver. The people that work with us and are helping us build our business are counting on us to thrive and prosper and deliver. So it's more of a mindset shift than it is a doubt, worry, or fear. It's actually to do just the opposite for us and for our businesses. It's to give us a sense of control and security, knowing that when stuff happens, because then you know what's going to hit the fan on a very regular basis, especially when you're getting started, until you have your systems and your procedures and your processes and all of the things that you need in place, you're going to struggle. And those struggles could lead to financial disaster to the point of destroying your business, which is nothing that we ever want. So how much should we have in an emergency fund? Just like when talking with sole proprietors and individual businesses, it depends on the business. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your life situation. It depends on how many people are counting on you to keep your business going. So first and foremost, you need to know, what's it cost to run this business on a monthly basis? And it's hard to say because it's so different depending on your industry, depending on your business, depending on your overhead. The more overhead you have, the bigger that number is. If you own a building and have a mortgage or are paying rent on it, that is a big number in most cases. A lot of businesses don't have that nowadays. There's a lot of people running their businesses from their home on the internet, or they're doing things to make money and earn a living that are like freelance things, selling other people's products or working for other businesses that pay them, etc. So everybody's situation is different. Every business is different. But we need to know, first and foremost, what is the minimum amount we need each month to keep the wheels turning in our business? What's the minimum? And then I always pad that, of course, because I want to have a buffer person. But what is that number? Figure out that number for you and make sure that you have, I'm going to say, the more people you have involved in your organization, the more months of cushion you should have in case of an emergency. It's why we have insurance, right? We're going to talk about insurance one of these days, maybe even tomorrow. I can't remember. I map out my month ahead of time, and then we talk about those topics each day. But I don't look ahead till the night before, and then I prep for it. So emergency fund, how many months do you need? I'm going to recommend, I know for personally, they recommend 3 to 12, depending on your situation, and they meaning experts. I'm not an expert on emergency funds, but different emergency fund experts will tell you different numbers. I say figure out the number of months that is comfortable for you. So if something happens, you had a medical emergency or lost your job or couldn't work, and you have a job as your sole source or main source of income, you can continue to survive. And is it 3 months that you're comfortable? 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is for you, 12 months? Figure that out And then that's the amount of your emergency fund you want to create personally. So how do you do that for your business? You do the same thing. What is the monthly expense? And for some business, it's like millions and billions of dollars, depending on the industry and your business, right? But take out the things that are discretionary that you don't have to spend money on. I have friends and associates that are spending millions of dollars a month on Facebook and other advertising. Do you need to spend $1 million on advertising for your business to keep moving forward? And if there's an actual emergency or a big change in the regulation of that industry and you have to change that, what would that impact have on your business if you couldn't spend that $1 million of advertising? So with our businesses, we have to ask questions like that. You know, if you're on a personal level, if you're dining out 5 nights a week or 7 days a week, you're eating out every single day, and something happens as an emergency, it's probably going to be a health challenge if you're eating out that much, in my opinion. Do you need to eat out 7 days a week? No, you can get groceries like most normal people do, and you can actually prepare and eat some healthier choices at home on a regular basis. And that can save you a ton of money depending on what you're used to spending on that. So you have to, with your business, look at, and with our personal lives too, what are the necessities to keep me going as an emergency buffer, and figure out what that amount is, and then set that aside in a separate account. You should literally have for your business a separate emergency fund, and call it an emergency fund savings account. And again, the hardest thing you're going to have to figure out is what's that amount, and then just start automatically putting money into it. And then when it reaches that level that is your comfort zone, reevaluate. And you should reevaluate as things change in your business. I mean, if all of a sudden you acquire another business and it doubles the size of your company, you need to take a look at your emergency fund and see if that is still an amount that makes sense and makes you feel comfortable. Why? Because the mindset that this allows us to choose and make decisions for our business with is totally different. We're going from a scarcity, oh my God, what if something bad happens mindset, at least at a subconscious level, to a, oh my gosh, we're prepared. It's like I said, it's like why we buy insurance. We know that if there's a natural disaster or something outside of our control, we're going to be covered for a while, right? Now, I don't know if they're selling pandemic insurance or not. I should probably look that up. But prior to the pandemic, nobody had that. And there were literally billions of people on this planet negatively affected because the vast majority of them did not have an emergency fund. I had a 12-month emergency fund, but not a 2-year one. And that's why I wasn't going to allow myself to just sit and do nothing during that period. Thinking, of course, it was only going to be 2 weeks. Remember, it was going to be a 2-week shutdown. Does anybody else remember that happened? The day before my birthday was when it first started to hit the fan. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, we're still being impacted. So, and actually, I think decades to come, we're going to find out the implications of the whole thing, and that will lead them. Anyway, we're talking about emergency funds. So set it up. I say set it and don't forget it, but set it up and don't touch it. Do not let you or anyone else in your organization touch it unless you have a process and this is the things that will trigger us diving into our emergency fund. And stick to that. You can add things to the list and change them as things change, but make sure it's truly an emergency before you dig into that fund. It's like if you've got a retirement fund set up, you don't touch that unless it's and you don't touch that. That's your last resort of touching it for anything that doesn't meet the definition of an emergency. So curious, do you have an emergency fund for your organization and for your business? Do you have a personal emergency fund? What if something happened, and we all experienced this a few years ago, and your business was immediately shut down outside of your control? Would you be okay? And I think we found that the vast majority of people on this planet would not be okay and were not prepared for all of the ramifications of what happened. I haven't looked into the statistics, and I'm not sure that they're accurately presented anyway, but I think that I know millions and millions of businesses actually went out of business, and I haven't seen the statistics on that, but I'm sure it's horrifying. But I know millions of businesses went out of business, I mean, if you didn't pivot and do something and figure out what you were going to do and get creative, and you weren't an essential business, you were in a world of hurt. All right, enough of that doom and gloom. Let's set up our emergency funds so that we are protected. Any questions about this, hit me up. I am not an expert in this, but I do know what I need to do to make me feel comfortable and set myself up for success in this and a lot of other areas. So you can always ask. And if I don't know the answer, we can find somebody that does. All right, have a great day. I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.